Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to first thank the Minister for this bill, this piece of legislation, and I'd also like to thank caucus members on the government side. I know that there are advocates for this issue on both sides of the floor, so thank you so much for advocating for this. As I've said many times in this House, Mr. Speaker, this is an incredibly important issue. Saskatchewan has the very dubious distinction of having the highest rates of intimate partner violence amongst provinces in Canada. And as I've also said before, we will not be capable of solving the entire problem. But as legislators, we can and should feel obligated to do everything we can legislatively to address this issue and provide the supports that we can. I'm very happy and proud that my caucus members recognize this as an issue and have supported making this issue as a priority, which has shown through the private member bills that we have been tabling throughout the past year and a half or so. The provisions that are in the government's legislation were in our original private members bill about a year ago. I think it was tabled. This is the third private members bill that has contained these provisions. I'm very happy to see the government take this piece of my private members bill, our private members bill, and pass it into law. People need these supports yesterday. So we are very grateful and we're very happy to see that this is happening. There are pieces that are missing in this legislation, though, that were in our private members bill and we are hearing are needed, and we are hearing that are needed directly from those who are on the front lines of addressing this crisis. The pieces that are missing, and I do want to make sure that they're in the record, Mr. Speaker, are the bill doesn't include the 5 paid days that we have asked for, and that would have brought us in line up to what other provinces have been providing, Manitoba in particular. So it would catch us up, Mr. Speaker, with other jurisdictions, and this bill does not have that. It also doesn't include the 17 weeks unpaid, Mr. Speaker, and I'm happy to hear the minister is advocating with the federal government to have that in place, but we would like to see a provincial commitment to do so if the federal government will not step up to the plate. It also doesn't include the duty to accommodate that we've been calling for a few times in our bill, which is also an important piece of the puzzle and a fairly straightforward piece, I think, for us to be able to provide as legislators. It also doesn't include, or Mr. Speaker, the definition of victim fails to include those who are suffering from PTSD as a result of their experience of domestic violence, Mr. Speaker, and we feel from what we've heard that it is important that be included as well. Despite saying all of that, Mr. Speaker, this is still a step forward. It's a small step forward, but it's progress, and we're very happy to see that. We're going to continue to advocate for these provisions and whatever provisions we hear are necessary, because this is such an important issue for us to address, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on a day like today, December 6th, the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women, I call on all of us to continue to strive to do all we can to tackle gender-based violence. This is an important step for us, but it's not by any means the end of the work that we should be doing in this House to address this issue, Mr. Speaker. So in saying that, as I know is procedure, I will be withdrawing my bill, but please don't take that as an indication of us not advocating for these issues, both what we've already been advocating for and as needed, more if necessary, Mr. Speaker, in the future. So again, thank you to the Minister, thank you to the Sask Party Caucus for bringing this forward, for allowing us all to work together to do what we can and to pass this with consent today so we can get these measures in place as soon as possible. Thank you.